In a world where balancing business success and parenting can feel like mission impossible, the question we need to ask is, how are you really, mum? Hi, I'm Sean Tucker, founder of Mum First, a coaching and business community dedicated to helping mums in business. And I'm here to bring you a unique podcast that's especially designed for you, the amazing business-minded mums who are juggling careers and family life seamlessly, or so it seems. Welcome to How Are You Really, Mum, the podcast where we dive deep into your challenges and your triumphs. From candid interviews with successful mums to practical advice and heartwarming stories, we won't shy away from tough conversations. Tune into How Are You Really, Mum, where we transform those taboos into everyday conversations. Subscribe now and let me help you carve out the space you need to nurture both your business ambitions and your family. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the How Are You Really, Mum podcast with me, Sean Tucker, and I'm joined by the powerful Sue Geelan today, who is actually such a privilege to have here, honestly. So I'll just give a little bio before I actually welcome Sue to the show, even though you can probably see her if you're watching on YouTube. But Sue, she knows a lot about change, resilience, and connecting with people. So growing up, she's actually the youngest of 7 kids. She faced a tough childhood filled with painful experiences. At 15 years old, she broke free from a controlling environment and started forging her own path. With the unwavering support of her husband, David, they're both committed to making their almost 37 years of marriage work by developing tools and strategies to understand what makes relationships thrive. So they have 2 amazing daughters and 1 granddaughter. She's a sports motorcycle rider and has dabbled in dressmaking and furniture making. I love that. So Sue Geelan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Sean. Thanks for having me.
It's a
And
pleasure to have
hi
you here.
to the listeners.
What an intro. I love that you love sports motorcycle riding. That's
Yeah,
a little bit different. Let's start there.
I had to put it sports motorbike as opposed to scooters. So no, it was only about because David is an avid an avid bike rider.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably had a bike, motorcycles for most of our married life.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't, like, I can't even remember now, but not even 10 years ago is
Yeah.
when I got my license. So I haven't had my license since, like, he was a kid when he got his license.
Yeah, got it.
So I'm more recent, within the last sort of 10 years or so. And that was because sports motorbikes, pillion seats this big, and I'm looking at that and it's also this high, and I'm looking at it going, nah, there is no way I'm going to get on that. So it was either not join him at all or get my own license with my own bike, and so that's what I did.
I mean, I understand the reason why, but really, what was I guess, after so long, because obviously you guys have been together for such a long time, and clearly he was an avid fan of riding motorcycles, probably when you guys met, right? What took you so long to get to that realization, if I can ask that?
I think it was because, 5 of those years beforehand,
Yeah.
we were in Canada, Edmonton, Alberta, in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have a bike for the 5 years that we were there, mainly because it's too jolly cold and snow and ice and all this sort of stuff. So when we came back back to Brisbane, that's probably probably where he got his bike. And then he wanted me to go when we actually moved then to the Gold Coast. There was
Yeah.
a lot of twisties that are around that area, and so that's when he said, "Come on, you got to get your license or come with me for the twisties." And so forth. Okay.
So he encouraged you, in other words.
He encouraged me because he said, "Oh, come on, jump on top." And I'm going, "Yeah, nah, not as a
I
passenger.
love
I'm not."
that. Yeah. Well, it always comes from someone leading somewhere, right? We don't just kind of walk out into the dark and go, "This is where I'm going." Too often, like we tend to stick to where we're comfortable.
Yes,
And if it was something that you maybe wanted within yourself at some point, that sort of invitation. Often we need an invitation. I feel like we
yeah,
do need that invitation.
yeah. Otherwise, we or a reason to do something
Yeah.
because it's sort of it is in our comfort zone. I hadn't been on a and also look. Also, there was a bit of a reason for that as well as that. Um, Back when I was 19 or 20 or something like this, we went in this
Yeah.
little Suzuki, um, kind of doing some beach traveling around and so forth. And the guy who was driving kind of went up a bit of a rise, and because of the sand and so forth, the truck was sort of up here, or the
Yeah.
Suzuki, and then literally stopped, and it just flipped on its side.
Oh goodness.
It just sort of flipped, just very lightly, very casually, just went. And so, and we were just cracking up laughing and sort of thinking, how in the heck are we going to lift this jolly thing up? So, fortunately, some people came. Now, that was so. There is a method to my story here,
Mm.
because then we had another person who had a little Cessna airplane or something like this. That a couple of years later, I went up there, and as they were going around the right,
Yeah.
oh, fear, absolute fear and panic. And I'm sitting gripping on the seats like crazy, going, what the heck is this? And so and I'm sitting there going, like, fear of everything, you know. So that when I was on then the back of the motorbike, every time he went around the corner,
Yeah.
I'd be sitting there just literally gripping the seat. And I was sort of going, okay, no, I can't do this. So that was also a reason why I ended up getting my own license, because I'm in control. And as I kind of went around, I knew where I was going because I was in control. So that was another reason why I kind of got and now no fear, all good.
I love that. It sounds like what you wanted to be was the driver rather than the and
I've
how
got, I've got to be in control here.
yeah, how much is that kind of reflective in well, of course there's one side of the work that you do, which is also really amazing. I love that. But the second thing as well is like you've been a mum for some time now. You've got daughters, but you've also got a granddaughter. Like how much do you feel like in your journey reflecting back of being a mother that you needed or you felt like it was better to be in the driver's seat rather than the passenger?
I think I like to be I think I like to be in control.
Yeah. Yeah. And tell us more about that if you're okay to share that with us, because I think it does give us a lot of resonance. I think in the listeners and the viewers' eyes and ears. Like when we share our stories, we actually the whole point of sharing is people resonate on them. They connect to you, and you are a huge connector because a lot of your probably experience within the work that you do that makes it so powerful and transformative is that you're living through your lived experience. Like you're kind of showing people and giving people the tools how to equip themselves based on your experience. You've tried and tested them yourself.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. Um, because for for my early years. Um,
Yeah.
um, and I'm going to be honest here because I mean, it's okay and so forth. Is basically my dad was a pedophile.
Mm.
Um, so with all the other all that sort of stuff, um, so obviously not in control. Mum was a matron of a hospital, so she didn't know because she was at work from 2 till 10.
Goodness.
So, and we never said anything. One, I think because I didn't know, you know,
Yeah.
sex, relationship, what happens between boys and girls wasn't really discussed ever in our home.
Yeah.
Um, so it wasn't until I went to school round about 11 that I started, it was a foreign language to all this. I'm going, what the heck what have I come into here?
Yeah.
Because I was very sheltered school, private school. And so therefore all this sort of information and stuff just bombarded me at school. And I then went, huh, okay, this should not be happening. um,
Yeah.
and when I sort of
Wow.
realized that it should not be happening,
Mm.
uh, that's when I put a stop to it. Um, because my dad is what I call a very weak character.
Yeah.
Um, and I was more stronger in character, as you could probably tell.
Wow. It, like that is a lot of responsibility to take on for any child, right?
Yeah,
Let alone, that lived experience that you've had to go through.
yeah.
It's not anything you'd want to wish on anyone, right? Like that is
Wouldn't want to wish.
horrendous.
No, wouldn't want to wish on anyone. And
No.
I ended up leaving home when I was 15 and literally kind of asked myself the question of what the hell was that? You know? And it would then became about, well, I've got to find out how to do this relationship stuff because I had no idea. Um,
Yeah.
and so I started picking people's brains about, why I did things or no, not why they did things. What was important in their relationship. What do they like? What do they dislike? What do they would do differently? Uh, and so I started, really sort of trying to kind of get an understanding. And then I met David at when I was 23, and we were starting to get quite serious because I did get the little body thing that happens. I just went to crawl in his arms. When you get your potential mate or your potential life partner, you get a little body thing that happens. And I got it
Those
with,
little butterflies.
yeah, those that little body thing. And so I'm kind of going, ooh, what's that? um, and he then sort of was wanting to get more serious and stuff like this. And I'm sort of going, okay, well, look, I gave him an out. I really gave him an out because I sort
Mm.
of said, you are too nice a guy to put up with me with all my bag.
Oh, how selfless of you, right?
So I did because I wanted to, and I just said I would not hold it against you. That type of thing. And he just grabbed hold of me and sort of said, "No, you're not going anywhere. We're going to do this together." And I go, okay, if we're going to do
Wow.
this together, right, we've got to make this work. We've got to make this work because I said I do not have the emotional energy to have more than one relationship. So now, how
Mm.
are we going to do this? And from there, it was just we started talking like for 3 years before we got married. After we just started talking about scenarios and incidents, and we always ask the question, what would you do in that situation? Here's what I think I would do in that situation. Okay, now if this happened to us, now what are we going to do? What are
Yeah.
we going to do in this situation? And how we're going to do things. And so we just literally did that for about 3 years. And then we lived it. We had kids,
Mm.
we had teenage kids before we even had kids. What we're going to do, how we're going to do it, you know, all this sort of stuff. What we're going to do, what was
Yeah.
important, what was our role as a parent. You know, what could we do? Because one of the things is that, you know, and that was a big thing for me. Because usually we sort of say, well, what can you give your parents as, you know, give your kids as parents?
Yeah.
And one of the things is that, oh, well, you know, our beliefs and values and so forth. And I'm going, hang on a minute. Nah, I chucked mine out when I left home. All right. All the stuff that from my parents, I said, nah, I've got to do it. So I had to create my own beliefs and values around sort of things. So my kids could do the same thing. I came up with two things really. I sort of said the only thing really that I can teach my kids from, you know, young to is how to make decisions and to accept the consequences of those decisions. That was it. That's all I can teach them.
It's pretty simple, isn't it? Really?
Well, it was because every time they did something, or you know, I asked them to, you know, set the table or do something, and they going, no, no, I'm not going. No, I'm not going to do that. And I said, okay, totally in your right to not do that, and that is your choice. But here's the consequences. Now, do you want to have the
Mm.
consequences? You either set the table or you have these consequences. You choose. Nuts get off my nose. If you want a different outcome, you've got to make a different choice. Simple as
Yeah.
that.
And if
Literally,
only people listened, really heard what you were saying right there, right?
I
Is
don't. It
it
was.
is a it's a law. It's a law that we live in this existence, that it's the third law of motion, that every action creates equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah,
Meaning any action you take has a consequence.
has a consequence, and so they
Whether
had
it's
to.
positive, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, positive or negative. Now, if you want a different outcome, you've got to make
Yeah.
a different choice. It's as simple as that. There is no ifs, buts, or maybes. You know, and the life that I would have wanted for my girls was the life that they chose, and they chose it for themselves, not for my rules. So
So
it
you're
was
empowering them, in other words, right? That's
huge,
a
huge.
whole different level of awareness because of what you've gone through. You've really many people are just living their past out, and it's creating the decisions they make for tomorrow or today to then create the past again ultimately. And that's the
Ultimate,
kind of cycles that we get ourselves in.
yeah.
And what you're saying here is really, when you're aware that you don't want to live your past anymore, you stop.
You
You
start. You
make
got
a
choice.
you take in the information, right? You take in the information that's available to you, and you make a decision based on that. Maybe it has a consequence that you don't like. That's okay. You need to accept that and move on to the next decision.
Yeah, very, very much so. Um, because someone has actually, I actually got this piece of information from the internet. Now, again, I don't know whether it's, you know, but scientists, you know, scientists have sort of came up with a number, and the of how many choices that we make in a day. How what would you guess? How many
Honestly, I
choices?
have no idea. No idea in a day.
Well, on average, we make 7,500 choices a day.
Interesting. Yeah.
All right. So if you want, or if a person wants an amazing life, obviously we've got to make more good choices than bad, more positive than negative. It would stand to reason, right? And so the easiest way of making choices is to actually work out the consequences first. I've got a challenge. Now, what is the consequences of this challenge, or the possible consequences of this challenge? And
Yeah.
then which one am I willing to live with? Now I'm going to make the choice to get that consequence. Simples.
Understand. Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but you need a lot of awareness for that, right? You need to be quite dissociated in many ways from yourself and your outcomes, because
Yeah.
people get caught in this trap of, it's very sticky. This experience that I'm having now is very sticky, and I feel stuck, and that it can't change. The only way you can make it change is if you bring a conscious level of awareness to it,
Yeah.
right? Because it's not just awareness. You need to make it
Yeah.
conscious. You need to be aware of, what is this doing? What is this happening that's going on?
And I suppose what you're actually sort of saying is that we've really got to be able to separate emotions from logic. If we
Yep.
have a if we have a challenge that is that we experience high emotion, then when we experience high emotion for anything, then logic is gone. It's out the window. It's kind of left the building here, and all we're doing is just making choices and decisions based on emotion.
Yeah.
And how many good decisions do you make in high emotion?
Well, especially when they're negative, probably not many.
Not many, right? So
Yeah.
we've got to be able to calm ourselves down, right? Usually breathe, um, because breathing and counting, you cannot think, right? Because it's the thinking that gets in the way. So if you
Yeah.
breathe and you're counting your breaths, you're not thinking, which means you're going to calm down. And therefore, then it becomes about, okay, why am I triggered? Or what is this choice and decision that I have to make? And, oftentimes leave it a day or so to make sure logic is there, and then make a choice and decision about how you want your life and how you want to live it. And
Yeah.
and that's kind of how I've lived my life.
I love it.
Forged my
I
own
mean,
path, as it were.
the way I see it is, you've been able to identify what is your psychology and what is your physiology, and connect them, because when they do become in connection, I should say, they become embodied, right? And becoming embodied into a life that you want versus a life that you don't want. And because people are living lives that they don't want, this brings on a lot of negative
Emotion.
experience.
Yeah.
Experiencing those emotions, because it's not just the emotion. The emotions might just be there, but unless you're experiencing them, they don't really have an effect over you. And that's what I hear you saying here, is if you don't lean into that experience of it and be aware of it, choose it differently, then you're able to create the life that you want.
Yes, very much so. And
And that's
no, you
all the
should.
gurus will tell you the same thing.
Oh, you saying I'm a guru?
Why not? I'm sure a lot of people
Wait,
come to you. I'm sure many people come to you when they're so lost in their own darkness,
yes.
because guru, the word itself in Sanskrit, means dispeller of darkness.
Oh, I like that.
That's as simple as it means.
Yeah. And I think and predominantly I work with couples. So it sometimes can be darkness in their relationship that we're trying to not only dispel, um, but build something new. Because
Hmm.
you can't, I get this Einstein thing. The sign of insanity is that you cannot do the same thing you've always done and expect a different outcome. It's not going to happen. So
Yes.
unless you put new tools, new strategies, new ways of thinking, new understanding, new awareness that you were talking about, then nothing's
Yeah.
going to change. Nothing's going to change. And so you might sort of say, oh, you might have an argument, and a partner promises to change, to do things. And I'm going, cool. But they'll always go back to their past, because they haven't bought anything new. They haven't learnt new skills, new tools, new strategies to change. And usually I say, to change into what? When nothing new has been added. To change into what? We
Well,
don't
that's
know
right.
what we don't
We're
know.
constantly transforming. We're constantly transforming if we allow ourselves to transform,
Yeah. And
right?
that's why I use education in my counseling practice. Mainly to give couples a chance to put something new to save their relationship, fix it, improve it, and once they put new in, now they can have discussions about how could we do this and how can we make it better. And because there's new, now you've got at least two. One you've already been on to, this new one that I'm giving you, which is going to
Yeah.
be better, which is going to be work for you better. But if you don't have new, you'll always go back to what you've always known,
Yep.
because that's all we
And
know.
like you were saying earlier, it's coming probably from your two nest eggs, your mother and your father. So whatever kind of relationship that they had is also an extension or an expression of their parents, and it
Yes,
just keeps on going down that lineage.
very much so.
So if you want
And
to change it,
you
you got
you
to be
got
the
to
change.
and you got to think differently and act differently and
100%.
do differently.
Yeah,
Yeah, very much.
I really love that. I love that because obviously you've learned this, right? Not only through theory. In fact, most of the theory would say this works, but until you try it, it's probably not going to work because there's so much doubt and uncertainty that we have until we put these tools to the test. Until we experience them, we actually not going to get the benefits from them.
Yeah,
So
most.
when you're raising your kids and now you see your granddaughter being brought up in this world, how much do you now observe like what you've given them as that kind of grounding awareness that every action has some kind of consequence? Are you prepared to pay that consequence? How much of that is still playing out for you?
Yeah. Well, I think, because my girls, I mean, they used to tell me, I'd be always telling them words of wisdom, always words of wisdom.
Yep.
And so, I'd be always telling them about this bit and this bit and what I think and my theories and all that sort of stuff. And so they'd always roll their eyes around, no, roll their eyes around, going, no, here's mum with the words of wisdom, you know. Um, but because I've sort of spoken to it um, often and long enough, um, I think I think it's stuck with them, and it's
Yeah.
my hope that they will actually, um, that they'll actually, I suppose, use the method that I brought them up in to sort of
Mm.
carry on for the next generation. Um, in being able to deal with sort of choices and consequences, to give back the responsibility from parents to the child at age appropriate. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we've got to be, you're only responsible for your own life. You're only accountable to, for your own thoughts, words, deeds, and actions. And as parents, we take that on ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and then we try and grab the kids and try and push them into that mold, or that, you know um that vision that we have of them, or living out of our own past, or what we wanted to do and so forth, rather
Yeah.
than responding to what they want and sort of saying no. At age appropriate, it's got to be age appropriate. If you you don't, at 2 years old, you don't give your child a chance to choose what food they'll eat, because they need to eat everything. But
Yes.
you don't give your 16-year-old and sort of say you've got to eat all your veggies and you're going to stay on the seat until you've eaten all the vegetables. Not appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
you know. Uh, so yeah. Where was I going with this?
Look. What I hear you saying, right, is it's responsibility. Responsibility, not in a social sense that this person is like belonging to you, right? But it's actually more along the lines of how you respond to whatever's going on for you right now. Because when you were 11 and you realized, holy shit, this is not normal, right? The world operates very differently to my perceived reality. I need to do something about that. So you made it very conscious. And then at the age of 15, you moved out and said, I'm done. Like, I'm never opening that, and I'm not going to give it to my kids. I'm going to be so aware and conscious that that's going to happen. And then you met the man who fully embraced and made that safe space. He created that space for you and himself,
Yeah,
because you are both a reflection of one another. That's
yeah,
why you're able to have that level of communication that you have, that you're both on the same
mhm,
team,
yeah,
right? You're both coachable. You both want the best for you both. It's not
yeah,
just one dream, right? It's a collective dream.
yeah, very much so.
And that is then being carried on to the next generation. Because even if they don't make it conscious like you have, because maybe you've been able to give them comforts along the way, right? Which is a beautiful thing. But their unconscious is going to flow from what you've given them from childhood all the way up till now.
Yeah, most definitely. And that will then sort of hopefully sort of serve them for the rest of their lives. And for their
Yeah.
life of them as grandparents for their own kids and so forth, So yeah, so what I do, and I think what I do and what I value, and this is probably why I can't stop, um, um, because what I do and the change that I do in people's lives, for this awareness is not just for now.
Yeah.
It is for generations,
Well,
because
that's what I was going to say.
generation to 3 or 4 generations, um that sort of awareness and so forth, and I'd be doing the world a disservice if I stopped.
Yeah.
And sort of said, oh, it's too hard, I want to retire, I want to do this, that. Nah, there's too many people out there who really want to save their relationships, who really want to improve it, fix it, and I've got the tools. I've got
Yeah.
the tools.
No, I really appreciate that level of effort and impact that you're making, Sue, because ultimately, what I understand is you've turned that pain that you had, you've turned it not only into passion, because that's the burn that we have inside of us. It's painful. But when you're able to turn that into purpose and vision,
Yeah.
that's where magic happens,
And
because pulling you is no longer pushing you. The pain is what pushes, the vision is what pulls.
yeah, yeah, no, I agree with that. And and I suppose people have just got to take a chance on me, and realize that and see my reviews. I've got some really good reviews from my clients who are amazing,
Yeah.
giving me good reviews, but also to take a chance on themselves, to realize that, and Australia here, we're not good, for counseling. It's sort of like, oh, I don't need help, I don't need help. Nobody can teach me,
It's
anything.
the she'll be right attitude, right? She'll be right.
Yeah, yeah, she'll be right, but you know, it's not. She'll be right. Um, because I mean, we do this in business. If you've got to go to university to learn how to hone your craft in your
Mm-hmm.
business. You've got to learn. You go into an apprenticeship to learn how from other people, to learn how to. Um, if you want to be a millionaire, then you've got to hang out with millionaires. You don't hang out with bankrupt peoples
Mm-hmm.
if you want to succeed. um Same, if you want a happy marriage, then learn from someone who's got a happy marriage. And it's like I'm for me, it took at least 3 years of hard conversations with David. It's
Yeah.
taken me 25 years to actually live that. And I've put it into a course, a program called the Loving We program, to shortcut that for you guys and your readers, all your
Yeah.
listeners here, is to shortcut it. So listen, I'm not talking months, years, I'm talking weeks. So for about 11 weeks, a couple can literally change their stars, change where they want to
Yeah.
go, and
Change their destiny.
change their destiny. And they can do that, but they need some help.
We all need help. Like they say, it takes a village to raise a child.
Oh,
We're all
yes.
children. We're all still children. That's what many of us don't really actually understand. Our life that we live is actually a brief amount of time. Like the
So,
average age, 82 years, right?
yeah, I know.
Before you turn like 12, you're already at the end of grade 6 normally.
Yes.
Like these moments happen really quickly. And the older you get, the kind of more you feel like time sped up.
Yeah, yeah. And so therefore, I'm sort of coming up to retirement. Um, so for people who want to work with me, there is not much time left.
Well, your wisdom will continue, right? That's the power of the era that we live in. But even if it wasn't with technology and things like that, there's
Yes.
still kind of this thing that you've already worked with countless numbers of people, hundreds of people, right? What is the exponential level that they can also reach and impact the people that are in their lives? Because if you
Yeah.
change one, it's like, how far can that go out?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so. It's an amazing thought to be able to sort of think about the impact and when I sort of see people change their lives and
Hmm.
they come up to me at the end of their program and they sort of said, really, is this all there is? And I'm going, yeah, well, I haven't designed any more yet, and and I do. um, and they sort of said, well, get on to that. And I go, okay. But it's been a wonderful journey, and oftentimes people have gone on to get married, to have kids that they probably wouldn't have had, simply because they've worked with me, and they sort of said this marriage wouldn't have happened, and but you made it, working with you has made it happen. Or um, you know, I had December, I think last year, I think I had 3 what I call Metanaean babies,
Mhm.
that were conceived around December
Amazing.
last year. That would not have happened, uh, because they were heading down, towards separation.
Yeah, and it's a big responsibility for anyone to become willingly a parent, right? But to be a parent that's actually going to allow that child to flourish,
Is
one, you need to become a better nurturer. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. I literally released an episode just recently talking about whether a man can be a nurturer. And that story is really inspiring and amazing. If you go back and listen to it,
Yeah, yeah,
it's profound because we
yeah.
all have that ability within us.
Oh, huge. And in actual fact, I actually sort of say that David is more mum than I am. He's
Yeah.
more nurturer. He's more the nurturer. So I think him and I have sort of swapped our roles around. So yes, I get that totally.
That's fine, right? There's no
No,
like solid concretized way that we have to be because the being level of being human
yeah,
means that you get to choose in a way. It's
yeah.
your innate qualities. It's these things that if we all become better nurturers, we become better parents.
Oh,
Because even the dad's traditional role, if he's thinking about providing and protecting for the longer period of time, right, making decisions that are going to happen 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, then it's still a degree of nurturing in that. It's
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
just not in the present moment.
yeah. And but the thing is, though, that he misses out. He misses out
Yeah,
on relationship. Um, he
exactly.
he misses out on sort of the connection that you have with your kids,
Agree.
and that's a shame. If
I totally agree. Yeah.
he sort of sees, his role as the protector and the provider for the family and all this sort of stuff, that he misses big time. And that's, guys, don't let that happen.
And that's the point I'm trying to make, right? Is when we bring ourselves into union, then we can unite as a relationship.
Yeah,
But if there's not that union first within yourself, right? You're just gonna kind of attach to someone outside of you who brings those qualities about that you probably missed when you were a kid. You
yeah,
probably didn't have the unmet needs, and that can become a disaster in many ways.
yeah, huge.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah,
sure that you've got countless number of stories of people that you've served, couples and marriages that you've saved, but also ones that weren't ready. They weren't willing, right?
nah, no, and some of those, and it's been, and it's been heartbreaking because they have the tools and they're just not applying it. And it's like, guys, you could save yourself so much pain if
Yeah.
you just applied what you learnt. And it's
And
not rocket science. It's stuff that it's stuff that you're already doing, but we're
yeah.
just doing it. And we're doing it outside of home, in our workplace, in our businesses, all that sort of stuff. It's just bringing that from out there into the home, into, sort of the relationship. And, and people are not willing to do it. And yet they just then live in pain. It's like, guys,
Mm. Yeah.
but one thing that I can do is, I can give them all the material, and I do. I give you all the material which to build a relationship house, like a new
Mhm.
one. But I can't design what that house is going to look like, and I can't build it for you,
Yeah.
right? And that's where you have to. But I'll give you all the material. I'll give you the foundations, the walls, the doors, the metaphorical doors, the windows, the roof, everything else. But
Yeah.
how that is constructed has to come from the two of you.
Yeah. Agree. And you can't raise someone to your level of whatever you want in your life by force. They
No,
have to want it within them.
yeah,
And
most
that's
definitely.
oftentimes, as professionals, whatever industry that you're in, you know, your idea might be the best idea, right? And it might be the thing that's going to work. But if the person who's going through it and implementing it doesn't get it, they're not raising themselves, they're not able to see your vision or be able to think that they're capable of doing that, then it's going to be a sabotage, right? They're going to not fulfill what you've expected.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's okay because it's their life to live.
very much so.
But
Yeah,
it
very
also
much.
becomes really tough as parents, right? When you see our kids not go go down those lines that maybe they have the tools, but it's also their journey. It's their lesson to learn.
Very much so. And I think we've got to allow people, and usually that's what I sort of say about relationships. No matter what you are in, the
Yeah.
relationship is always about an invitation. And we have to be solid and strong within ourselves to have that relationship or that invitation accepted. If we've let ourselves go and we're not, we're demanding, we're controlling, we sort of want things our way, it's our way or the highway or something like this, then it's like,
Yeah.
what, that's kind of not looking attractive. But if the two of you if your two of you in a relationship is there, and if you're getting into that mindset that, which is what I've always sort of thought about David, is that I feel privileged that
Mm.
he would choose me, right, to share his life with me. And
Yeah.
when we find it a privilege that someone would share their life with me, then I don't take him for granted.
Yep.
because I keep pinching myself and going, okay, you sure you want to do this even after 36 years? You sure this is what you still want? And he keeps, keeps reassuring me, yep, still what I want. Except I'm not going anywhere. And I go, okay, thank you. um, but it's, it's that privilege. We're not going to take them for granted. We're
Mm.
not going to, um, we're not going to try and control them or dominate them, or say you can't do something, or that type of thing. It might be like, hey, it's not advisable because it's going to hurt you, but
Yeah.
it's about sharing. It's about two people who are individuals, strong and of themselves, that they share their lives together, and
Hmm.
it's helping and supporting, lifting and helping each other to challenge, to grow, to develop, to become the best me's that they can be, by having that by having that person who's got your back. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't be in this situation, right, if it hadn't been for David. I wouldn't be a counselor if it wasn't for him. Because when I left school at 15, I also left school at grade 10. And in my thinking, I'm a year 10 dropout. That's what I
Yeah.
thought. I'm a year 10 dropout. When I met him, he was doing his education degree. He was doing it in chemistry, physics. So his vocab and his knowledge and stuff like this was like up here and mine's down here. Huge, big gap. But never once in the whole 37 years, or coming up to 37 years, have I ever heard him say, Sue, that is a dumb, stupid idea. Why would you think that? Why would you sort of say that? He's never. Because he will always sort of say, hey, I'm hearing what you're saying, but have you thought of this? Or have you thought of that? Or have you thought of something else? I'm going, oh, no. And so now I'm stretched to think this way or think that way or think something else.
Yeah.
And then when I was about 30, because I met him at 23, so when I was about 30 or 31, he sort of said to me, look, you really got the smarts here. You could go to university. And I'm going, you got to be kidding. I'm a year 10 dropout. What are you talking about? He said, no, you could do this. And fast forward to today,
Mm.
and I have 4 degrees, with the final one being a Master of Counselling. So I've got 2 bachelors, 1 postgraduate, and a master's. From not bad from a year 10 dropout. And
Yeah.
they would never have if he didn't believe in me, when I certainly did not believe in myself.
Yeah. And I would love to just iterate this for our viewers and listeners. Is you were ready to accept that from him, because if you weren't willing and ready to accept it, your life was going to be that year 10 dropout,
Yeah.
right? And that is really the message I think from this episode I'm getting as well, is you're not what you think you are. And it really does take a lot of support, a lot of support, nurturing around you. It's that environment that you're in is the most important driver, or the most important vehicle for you living a life that is meaningful, not only to you, but the next generations.
Yeah, most definitely. To be able to, and if you've got that someone who's going to lift you up, not drag you down, man, oh man, the sky's the limit. There is nothing that you can't do, or
Yeah.
or your listeners can't do, you know. But sort of sometimes we've got to get out of ourselves and out of our limiting beliefs to believe someone else. And I suppose because I respected, David, and if he said, you do have the smarts, well, maybe I guess I do. Let's try this.
Lean into his beliefs for a moment. Yeah. No, I love that.
you know and yeah, that was just it was huge. And so therefore, getting my degree, so I've got a bit of authority behind me. um I've been able to start up my own counselling practice, and hopefully to take the programs to the world, and
Yeah.
and just help other couples out there, because that's my whole goal, is just to help couples fix their relationship, save it. I would like to be a divorce disruptor. That's what I'd
Yeah.
like.
That's awesome. Sue, thank you so much for sharing. Seriously, you're a lady that's full of wisdom, who's lived a life that many probably wouldn't be willing to live. So, yeah, you've been able to turn those experiences into wisdom and share that with us today. So we're all very grateful and very thankful that you agreed to come on the show. So thank you so much.
Yay!
The other thing I would, yeah, no problem. And what I would love to ask, just to help the viewers as well, is knowing what you know now, really, and going back to the child decision that you guys made as husband and wife, that you're going to bring a child into this world. And the thing that you said, look, I'm not going to pass any of my stuff from the past onto this child. Knowing what you know now, is there anything else that you could pass on to that past version of yourself to know that everything's okay? We've got this. We can handle it.
Because from where I came, sort of from, I did fear that I couldn't love my kids, because I don't emotionally feel a lot. That's me
Yeah.
as an individual. You would feel more what I would feel than me myself,
Hmm.
because of that stuff. So I was fearful,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't be a good mum. But one of the things, so if I went back to talk to myself, as I was having kids, one of the things that I probably would sort of say is, just to enjoy them, not as yours, but for the little people, and respect them for the little people that they are, and
Yeah.
have fun and enjoyment in who they are, as you teach and guide them. All right, teach and guide them to become amazing adults. And I think having fun, like if we did that we did as a parent, as a mum, if we are having fun, they are having fun. If we do parenting that's easy, then they will
Yeah.
have fun. If we, suffer and we give up our lives for them, we are doing them a disservice. You have to live your me life, otherwise we lose our identity, and we're only a mum, rather than,
Mm.
oh, well, I'm not only a mum, I'm a wife, and I'm a sister, and I'm freaking awesome. I'm amazing. you know I just
Yeah.
happen to be a mum. um so don't put a rod for your own back. you know don't put a rod for your
Yeah.
own back. um, and have fun and enjoy them as little people, and see if you can sort of see the world through their eyes,
Yeah.
and
It gives
experience
another opportunity, doesn't it?
to
To just
yeah,
be a kid in many ways, because
be a
if you've
kid.
gone through that, you know, experience of pain and suffering, then you don't want to pass it on to your kids. Just
No,
have that experience, open up and make it joyful. Enjoy the process.
yeah, and when they enjoy stuff, and again, we're sort of a teacher and a guide, then we enjoy
Yeah.
stuff. We have fun, and for me, parenting was easy, because I didn't create a rod for my own back.
Yeah.
In terms of how we did it, you know, they've got to be in bed at a certain time. We had strict structures, sort of like, ugh, you got to be quiet. Nah, I sort of said I suppose one of the big things was start off how you wish to finish. If you want kids to be able to sleep anywhere, then when they're at home, sleep them in the bed, on the floor, on the couch. You have silence, you have vacuum cleaners, you have blenders that go on, you have TVs, you have radios, you have every noise that you can have under the sun at different times, so that they get used to sleeping anywhere, so that you can live your life and they'll just sleep when they need to. But if you've got
Mm.
quiet and you always the noise. Anytime someone, they're going to be, like rod for your own back. It's like,
That's such awesome wisdom, really. And thank you for sharing that little bit as well, Sue. So brings us to the end of the show. And I hope everyone who's watching, who's listening, has really enjoyed it. I mean, it's been a wonderful experience to have you here, Sue, and I really appreciate you being here. Thank you
thank
so much. No worries at all. And if you like this episode, please remember to give it a 5-star rating, because that helps us promote and bring people who need to hear this episode. We all can't wait to see you in the next episode. And if you want Sue to be on the episode again for another interview, please drop a comment, let us know, and we'll make it happen. Bye for now. Have a beautiful end to your week. Don't miss out on each episode released weekly. Hit that subscribe button and join our community today. Because remember, we're in this together, Mum.